folks here to begin.
Okay, let me get our roll call going.
Peter should be calling in right now. He had a different ID number, just to let you
Okay,
know.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Summer let John and I know that Judy's going to join us just a little bit later this evening. She should be on by about 7:30. So for now, she's not here. Judith Humberg, James Oku.
Here.
Thank you. Natalie Sayre.
Here.
Thank you. Louis Fagoni. I think I saw you, Louis.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jonathan Winslow.
I'm here.
Hi there. John Vars.
Here.
Thank you. Bill Cook. There he is.
Here.
Thank you. Peter Markey, who will be on shortly if he's not already. He might be the other call-in user. Let's check that. Can you help me unmute him, Summer?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, this is Peter and I'm here. I had
Thank you.
my pack at the wrong ID number.
Glad we figured that out. Thank you. Ryan Casey.
Here.
Fred Crowder.
He is here.
Thank you. I'm Lauren Silverman here. Natural Resource Conservation Staff Jim Howard. Nope. San Mateo County Agricultural Commissioner Corin Whittle.
Sorry, here.
Thank you. Farm Bureau Executive Director Jess Brown. I haven't seen Jess for a while. Look like, okay, he's here tonight. San Mateo County Planning Staff Summer Burleson.
Here.
And UC Co-op Extension Representative Frank McPherson. Also not here. Okay, we've got a quorum.
All right, great. So we have the repeating item number 3, adopting a resolution that as a result of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic state of emergency, meeting in person would present imminent risks to the health and safety of attendees. We do.
You know, I've been making the motion on these for the last few, so I'll do it again. I'd like to make a motion that as a result of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic state of emergency, meeting in person would present imminent risks to the health and safety of attendees.
I'll second it.
Okay. And our next roll call, this time we'll vote. James.
Yes.
Thank you. Natalie.
Yes.
Louis.
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
Do you prefer John or Jonathan?
Jonathan's fine, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. John.
Yes.
Thank you. Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. Peter.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
And I am Lauren and I vote yes. Okay, we got a passed resolution. Okay, next up on item 4, I'm going to steal your thunder, Summer, because I have the floor. Judy asked if at all possible we could kick this down until she's able to join so she could vote as well. Is anyone opposed to just addressing the officer elections as soon as she's able to join us?
This is Louis. I'm good. I'm okay with that.
Me too, Peter.
Me too, Fred.
Sure.
I have no problem with that, James.
Great. Does anyone have a problem with it? I'll make this more efficient. Okay, I'll take that as a no. So as soon as Judy, do we need to actually motion Summer to address it later? Or, okay, cool.
I think that's fine to just move it.
Okay.
Technically, it's something probably the chair should move, but Lauren, you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
We should make an official motion. Fine. I think we're okay.
Okay, if you're good with it, John, the next item is number 5, oral communications to allow the public to address the committee on any matter not on the agenda. If your subject is not on the agenda, the chair will recognize you at this time.
I see a call-in user 1 with a hand up. I'm not sure if they're able to speak.
I think that's Peter.
Is that Peter?
No, I don't have my hand.
Okay. Essentially, so
Sorry, one little logistical.
it seems like
Summer, do you mind making me a co-host so I can help rename?
Oh,
and-
yes. Thank you
That's okay.
for the reminder.
Sorry.
so. If no one, no member of the public has anything that they'd like to share, we could move on to the next item on the agenda. I don't see anyone with a hand raised.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is number 6, committee member updates and or questions to allow committee members to share news and or concerns for items not on the agenda. Seems like we are ready to get to the regular agenda tonight, folks.
We're gonna have time to. Right. There's some minutes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is number 7, consideration of action minutes for February 14th, 2022. Did anyone have any notes on those?
Yeah, I had a comment on page 4 at the very bottom.
Okay, page 4 at the bottom.
The last thing it says is a motion to table the rest of this discussion and all following items on the agenda to the meeting. And I think it's supposed to be to the next meeting.
Indeed. Thank you for catching that. No, just to the proverbial meeting, any meeting.
Yeah. Well, I had to find something to show that I read the minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate a
Okay.
second set of eyes on those.
Way to go, Fred.
Yay. But that was all, I'll tell you. Nice job on the minutes.
Yeah, 2 years in, I'm starting to get the hang of them. This one is even done the month after, not like 2 or 3 months after.
Well, thank you for that.
No, thank you.
It's a lot of work, and I'll tell you, I certainly appreciate it, and I think the rest of the committee members do as well.
My pleasure. This is the one that I refuse to make a motion on because I wrote the minutes and it feels inappropriate, but if anyone would like to make a motion on the amended minutes as amended.
Lauren, this is Louis. I'll move to approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you.
Fred was
I'll
second.
second that motion.
Oh, I heard John before. So I will go for John on that one on the second. Okay. This is a motion to approve the minutes as amended for number 8. There we go. Okay. James,
Yes.
Natalie,
Yes.
Louis,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
thank you. Peter,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
and I am Lauren, and I vote yes. And they are approved. Okay, what do we have? Next up is item number 8, committee discussion and update on the current COVID-19 pandemic, potential policies needed to protect local agriculture and water from contamination, how the pandemic may affect local food supply, and access to farm labor and resources available to producers and farm workers. And I just want to say this is officially 2 years of doing this, because those of us who are around remember the very last thing we did before in March 2020, before everything shut down, was this AAC meeting. So here we are, 2 years in, guys. I won't say yay to that. And then just in terms of the regular updates, testing still available weekly in Half Moon Bay on Wednesdays. Coastside Hope has actually concluded the weekly Vax clinics that they've been doing. So if you'd been sending anyone that way on Friday afternoons, after I think 8 months or something, they finally concluded that. But vaccinations are still available at the Coastside Clinic. Are they still available at the Expo Center, Summer or Corin? Do you remember, through the county?
They vaccines or testing?
Either.
Okay, so testing is concluded at the expo, but I believe there's still vaccines are there, but no longer testing, but there are testing at multiple county sponsored locations. And I'll keep going if you're done. Okay. So also the state there's a state small business relief grant, and it's available through April 11th. And the program gives $2,500 to small businesses in San Mateo County, regardless of the owner's immigrant documentation status. So if you want more information, you can go on the county's website. And again, that's the state small business relief grant. And then also there's rent relief. And those applications are due by March 31st. So that's coming up pretty quick here. And so housingiskey.com is where you want to go for that, for those applications for that. And then in my department, we have scheduled our farm worker pesticide safety training. It's back to in person. We do this every year in the spring. So we have it scheduled for May 4th in Pescadero Community Church and May 5th at the Ted Adcock Center in Half Moon Bay. So we'll have 2 sessions on each of those days, one in English and one in Spanish. And if your staff can't make it, we still have the virtual training, like a recorded training that we can give you Chromebooks for loaners if your staff can't make it to that in person.
Or again, I didn't quite hear.
Okay, sorry. So we have in-person field worker pesticide safety training scheduled May 4th in Pescadero and May 5th in Half Moon Bay. And we'll be sending out more information to all the growers. And then if your staff can't make it to those dates for the in-person, we have a virtual recording of the training as well.
Lauren, this is Louis.
Hi.
How long is the course at the that you're putting on? in person?
Good question. Usually it's about 2 hours total.
Okay, and does it cover a lot more than the iPad that you have?
It probably is just a little bit more personable, in person. And we usually talk about our department and what it does too, as well, just to get the information out to the farm workers about what we do.
Okay, thank you.
And then we sent out our crop report survey, and this is for our annual crop report, and it's for 2021. So I'd encourage everyone to fill it out and send us the information back, where our report is only as good as the information that we receive from the farmers. So we'd really appreciate it. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you. I also just wanted to jump in and let everyone know that vaccines are available at the library now, and then also pretty much any local pharmacy. You can get same-day appointments at like the CVS in Half Moon Bay. The last thing, this was from City of Half Moon Bay. The Coastside Clinic has youth vaccines available, which are not available at all sites because it's a smaller dose, I believe. So if anyone, I think 5 to 12 and also 12 to 13 to 18 that needs a vaccine or booster dose, the Coastside Clinic has those available.
Thanks, Lauren. No sign of Judy yet. Committee discussion.
Oh yeah, this is okay, so the next one, this is the kind of ongoing one for the Market Economic Development Project. I'll just read it. Number 9, committee discussion and update on next action steps for market development for San Mateo County's agricultural production and potential. And usually Audrey gives us an update on this, but I don't think I see her tonight.
John, Lauren, we have been notified that there will be a meeting, I believe, May the 11th regarding this at the, Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, at the IDS hall?
What was that again, Louis?
There's a meeting on the potential, the marketing program. It's going to be on May the 11th.
Yes, I believe so. Ask James, he might know a little bit better than me, but I think you're right.
I just received an email on it from Audria. It's May 11th, 5:30 to 8 p.m. at the ID's hall. And they're asking for an RSVP.
Yes, I'm looking at the flyer we got the other day now.
A question, IDS Hall and Half Moon Bay or Pescadero?
Half Moon Bay,
Okay, thanks.
RSVP by May 9th.
And just for the minutes, who should we be RSVPing to if you're not on the email list?
I can give the web address. Will that work?
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay. HTTP //tiny.cc/smc-ag markets. Did you get that?
If it works. Not quite. Actually, do you mind just before the end of the meeting, if you could forward me the email, or I'll get it from Audrey for the minutes.
Okay,
I don't wanna go down a
I'll do
meeting.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I think for the sake of getting to the director's report, we had discussed integrating it into the agenda before the main agenda item.
Yes, I think we just have one more topic before we get to that one on future training. So next up, committee discussion. We've got lots of committee discussion these days. Committee discussion to plan for future training and topics including but not limited to water, PAD, agricultural land use regulations, wildlife conservation, and Brown Act compliance.
If I may, one just regarding the training session that the San Mateo County Boards and Commissions conducted on March 3rd for all board and commission members. I know I saw some of you guys attending that, so I hope you guys found it helpful and useful. There will be a recording. They're having some technical difficulties in getting that posted, but that will be coming out soon, and a link will be sent out to all committee members. And when I see that, I'll make sure you guys have all gotten received that link that you'll be able to view the entire training recording. And then I'll just mention that an option for this item may be, I know this meeting agenda is full, but as meeting agendas aren't as full, or there aren't any regular items, that we start with the committee, if the committee wishes, we could start with a land use planned agricultural district and agricultural land use regulations, and tie in some Williamson Act training as one of the first training sessions. So that's just a suggestion.
That's a good
Yeah,
suggestion.
I think that's the
Go ahead, John, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say the same thing. Good suggestion. I think that's kind of the foundation of what we should be considering here. So a good thing for us all to be refreshed on.
Do you have a speaker in mind, or for that particular one?
It would be county staff, which would be myself, and I don't know if we'd have somebody else come from county staff. I'd have to look into that.
Sounds good, thanks.
Yeah, I would definitely support that as well. I wrote Williamson Act down, and since we deal with it every time we take up an issue and every time we meet, it'd be really good to have some presentations on the PAD and the Williamson Act and the zoning regs.
By the way, I got a message from Audria. She is in the meeting and trying to raise her hand, but it's not working, so.
Hmm.
Do we know what name she's under? I don't
Maybe the
see her
415
name.
number.
Maybe she's
Let's see.
emailing me.
You're her lifeline.
Yeah.
Phone number, just process of elimination here.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Natalie.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll have her soon. I just want to note for the record that I see that Judy's here now. Welcome, Judy. Okay. are we ready?
Sorry, I'm on iPad and I don't know this interface. Yes, I'm here. Thanks.
No worries. Thanks for joining.
Uh-huh.
She says she's registered under Audria, but we're not seeing you. Audria.
Oh,
Lauren,
maybe
you can
she
hear
has
me.
the other meeting ID, kind of like Peter had.
Well, Lauren, this is Louis. Adria just sent over to everybody on the committee here the flyer. I'm looking at it right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like she can hear us though.
Okay, that means she's at least in the right meeting. Okay, in the interest of time, do we want to do the Community Development Director's report next?
Sure. Let's see. Okay, this was the Community Development Director's report for, let's see, the time period December 29th, 2021 to March 1st, 2022. So the past few months. There was one planned agricultural district permit application that was heard by the Planning Commission on January 26, 2022. It was the Kurt Simrock project at 2450 Parisima Creek Road. You guys, the Ag Advisory Committee heard that project last year, and that was approved by the Planning Commission. There were no PAD permit applications filed during this couple month time period. There are no rural CDX applications submitted during this time period. Some other projects that have been submitted for application that do not require PAD permits but are located on PAD property include a coastal development permit for a new agricultural well at 17300 Cabrillo Highway. Applicant is Alina Campagna. That application was submitted on January 5th, 2022, and the project planner is Sonal Agarwal. There was a coastal development permit submitted on January 18th, 2022 by County Parks for 2 benches to be installed at the Pigeon Point Viewpoint parking lot. And then there was a coastal development permit submitted on January 24th, 2022 by San Mateo Resource Conservation District for a coastal development permit for the Green Oaks Habitat Enhancement Project, which would enhance 235 acres of habitat at the former Steel Ranch property, which is part of the Año Nuevo State Park. And that project would include restoring historic swales, riparian zones and wetlands, and modifications to an existing pond. And additional announcements, the next Ag Advisory Committee is scheduled for January 11th, 2022, and will continue to be held via video conference until further notice. and that the county is preparing an update to its cannabis ordinance, which is tentatively anticipated to be agendized for consideration by the Ag Advisory Committee in April 2022. The initial study and negative declaration will be released this Wednesday, I believe, the 16th. Yes, this Wednesday. So once that's released, I'll send a link around to the committee members to be able to take a look at that. It's a 20-day public review period. And then the anticipation by staff is that it would be ready to agendize for the April Ag Advisory Committee meeting. I don't have any further updates.
I actually have a question on the kind of related to the last one on the cannabis thing. Is cannabis deemed an agricultural activity in San Mateo County? Do you know?
My understanding is I think it is in certain situations. I would need to check on that though and follow up probably to avoid giving any wrong information here.
Is that question based on the ordinance or?
One of the license holders asked me it recently in relation to actually their insurance coverage. They're having some trouble with insurance because apparently it's not deemed an agricultural activity. And this relates to the, sorry guys, I'm gonna geek out for a minute. This relates to the federal regulations deeming cannabis a controlled substance. So often it's treated as a controlled substance instead of an agricultural crop, except it's a crop here in our county. So I was wondering if the county had made a different distinction somewhere in the ordinance that it's an agricultural. And I can follow up with that outside of meeting times as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say it's an agricultural activity, but I mean, I don't know that that means anything to the insurance company.
Same. I was like, it's in the last crop report. Like, how is it not an ag activity? But okay, thank you.
Well, I was going to mention Corin has, I mean, initial discussions by the state were that it wasn't going to be considered for gas tax reimbursement or under the Williamson Act. Has that changed?
Not that I know of.
I don't believe it's changed for Williamson Act.
So it's not an agricultural commodity as per the Williamson Act.
Or Williamson Act, correct. And that's where I think there's some distinguishments that, at least from a planning land use standpoint, that where it's not for Williamson Act compliance, but I think we have made a recent determination that, say for if operation needed farm labor housing to support that we would consider it ag for that purpose. So that's where I think there's some distinctions we've made that I would just need to get clarification on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of parsing that's going on and trying to figure it out. I know since I left, you know, they've probably made some progress, but Corin would know much more about that than I would.
And nothing's changed on that since that I know of.
I had another question regarding the Kurt Simrock application. And I was just, I know this is a done deal, but it says that 16 trees are proposed for removal, including 7 significant trees. Is there any mitigations required for replacing those trees as a part of the permit?
Yes, generally we typically do require replacement plantings at a 1-to-1 ratio when significant trees are removed. That's a standard condition that or mitigation that we add to projects.
Great, thank you.
And then someone's had their hand up for a while. A 415 number. Okay, you should be
This is
unmuted.
Ron Sturgeon from San
Ron.
Gregorio. Just a little background on the same development that just referenced. Since the committee last saw and approved this project, it was altered somewhat in that the residence was changed. I think it was from close to 8,000 down to 6,200. It was downgraded by 1,350 square feet, and the horse barn was eliminated altogether, and they're going to refurbish the existing horse barn, which is right adjacent to the highway. And I think that this project has been appealed, in that I think the committee for Green Foothills found the residence still too large, in that the 1,000 square foot garage and the square footage in the basement is usually included in calculating the square foot of the residence, and it isn't in this instance. And 6,200 is the limit on the mid coast, and it's a reasonable limit in the agricultural district. And I think the committee had a problem with the second story on the quote barn unquote. And so it wasn't appealed as I mean, it wasn't approved as the committee approved it, but was downgraded a bit. Thanks.
You're right, Ron. Thank you for clarifying that. That was a holdover from the January director's report and before the appeal was filed. But I do see you're correct. I do see that there was an appeal filed by Committee for Green Foothills. So the Planning Commission did make an approval, and it was appealed. The Planning Commission's decision was appealed. So that's an appeal right now.
Good. All right, so I feel like we're moving through things effectively, but we still haven't gotten to the main agenda item. Do we want to circle back to the officer elections now that Judith is present?
No. You can do it next meeting.
Do you want to take care of an agenda item that Mike Williams is here for, since he's come back and so graciously gave us those site visits? And then if there's time at the end, do the officer elections.
This is Lauren. I'm not opposed to that, Natalie, but I think
Sure.
we know that means it'll just be on the next meeting.
Oh, okay. Well,
Just
yeah,
knowing us.
that's a good point. I just felt bad making him wait. Like if we did his first, and then like Lauren said, yeah, but then go. Yeah, either way, thanks. You're right.
Nothing against that. I mean, we've waited long enough at this point. How does it?
Optimism going on here, right, Lauren? Right?
Exactly. No, we're going to be super efficient today.
Either way, I just was thinking if we could proceed with that one first, but it's up to you all. So yeah, with Williams and that property.
I am open for anything. John, how are you feeling since you've been our acting chair since I think October.
Oh, yeah, I'm okay continuing to act in that role if we think that we can give more attention to the proposal. Do we need to make
We
a
need
motion about this,
motion
maybe?
To do that?
Yeah.
So do you want a motion
See.
to postpone this to the next meeting if we run out of time? How do you want to do this?
I think we should postpone it the next.
Okay, so I'll make the motion that we table this to our April meeting.
I'll second it. Peter.
I guess my only concern is that, we'll get to April meeting, there'll be something else and we'll table it again. I would recommend if to see how our time goes and get through the, get through Mike's item and then see how we're doing for time. And then if we have the time to get to it, we'll do it. And if we don't, then we can move it on to the next meeting.
Okay, then I withdraw my motion and I'll make a motion that we put it off to the end of this meeting if time permits. Okay.
You don't have to do that.
We don't need a motion for that. We can move on. John, let's go to item 12.
All right. So item 12 is a regular agenda item. I don't know, do I read
Yeah.
that one in, Lauren?
I
feel like
will
we're-
spare you all the non-numbers. Okay, we're moving on to regular agenda, item number 12. The owner is Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District and Peninsula Open Space Trust. The applicants are Mike Williams of MROSD and Ben Wright of Post. Welcome back, guys. File number is PLN 2021-00381. The location is Higgins Canyon Road in unincorporated Half Moon Bay. And the assessor's parcel numbers are 064-370-200, 064-370-070, 065-210-240, and 065-210-220. And this is for consideration of a certificate of compliance type B, lot line adjustment, planned agricultural district permit, rescind and replace existing California Land Conservation Act and Farmland Security Zone contracts, Williamson Act, and Land Conservation Act modifications. This item is continued from the February 14th, 2022 AAC meeting to provide opportunity for AAC members to visit the site. Please direct any questions to project planner Angela Chavez at achavez@smcgov.org.
Is that my cue? This Mike Williams with Mid-Peninsula Open Space District. Summer, are you able to share the screen and I'll just bring up the maps I think it helps to have the maps for this presentation. And I will do my best to go through this in an efficient manner since you've seen it before. And I want to express my appreciation to all of the committee members that were able to come out on site and see the property and ask questions. And thank you for that. I think we got in 3 site visits, we got 6 committee members in to see the property.
Mike, I think I've changed it so you are able to share. Actually, I think I need to promote you to a panelist first. Sorry,
Okay.
hang on. And then I think you'll be able to.
Okay,
Does that work?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. Let me know when you can see the picture on the screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Sorry about that. So this is the Johnston Ranch lot line adjustment. And really quickly, the property is located at the southern urban boundary of the city of Half Moon Bay along Main Street, Highway 1, and along Higgins Canyon Road. Burley Murray Ranch State Park is to the east, as is the Miramontes Ridge Open Space Preserve, also to the north. This is the proposed lot line adjustment outcome. The properties on the western boundary in yellow represent the agricultural fields that are in irrigated row crops, and the southern field is dry farmed in hay, consolidating all of the reservoirs that serve the ag fields in this farm property. And the yellow property is approximately 224 acres. This also consolidates the grassland properties in purple, approximately 644 acres. The property south of Higgins Road is grazed by local rancher Tom Pacheco. The field south of Higgins Road has been fallow for over 20 years. And then John Giusti farms the ag fields to the west. And so there are 4 existing parcels involved in the lot line adjustment, and I will cover those very quickly. Parcel 1 is an ag field in irrigated row crops, Brussels sprouts. A portion of parcel 2 is also in irrigated row crops. The uplands area of parcel 2, as well as a parcel not included in the lot line adjustment, are grazed with Mr. Pacheco. And then this parcel also is not involved in the lot line adjustment. Parcel 3 includes a reservoir, which is kind of used as a regulating reservoir, pumping water from Arroyo Leon Creek to the fields on the north side of Higgins Road, as well as the fields west of the city of Half Moon Bay's property. And then parcel 3 and 4 bisect the Yoshikawa reservoirs. And so the goal is all of these reservoirs that are used for the ag fields to be combined. It also bisects the ag fields south of Higgins Canyon Road. And so this is the existing parcel configuration. And the next slide will be the proposed parcels. So the new parcel 1 would combine the ag fields from parcel 1 and 2 in one parcel, and then the grassland uplands property on both sides of Higgins Canyon Road into parcel 2, and then also creating about a 7-acre parcel that includes the regulating reservoir that serves all of the ag fields, and then creating parcel 4, which would include the 2 Yoshikawa reservoirs, and then the ag fields that are south of Higgins Canyon Road. And maybe this is a good point to take questions on the lot line adjustment, and then I'm happy to talk about the rescinding and replacing of the Williamson Act contracts and the Farmland Security Act contracts on the property. Are there any questions on the lot line adjustment?
Mike, this is Louis.
Hi, Louis.
At the tour on parcel 4, we had discussed slightly about making it a little bit bigger parcel around the two reservoirs for future enlargement. Has that taken any precedent? Have you done anything on that?
Yes, so this configuration, we added, I think, approximately 50 feet additionally around the reservoirs, so that if the reservoir, there's reservoir work that's needed, that there's plenty of room around those reservoirs. And Ben is here. Ben, do I have that right?
Did I lose you? Everyone went silent.
Oh, I was wondering if Ben was going to mention. So yes, Louis, we did the boundaries in encompassing those two reservoirs were to allow for cleaning those out and any reservoir work that would be needed to either clean out or potentially expand those reservoirs.
Okay.
I was on mute earlier, Mike. Sorry to leave you hanging there. I think it was more than 50 feet that we added there. We wanted enough space to, as you said, expand the reservoirs. I think it was something larger than that.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. No, thank you.
I had a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, James.
Additionally, at that meeting, we had talked about the two ponds that will be in the new parcel 2 that will be cut off from the row crops that are going to be moved into parcel 1. Is there anything in writing that talks about potentially being able to use that water down the line for that land?
Are you, can you see my cursor on the map?
Yeah, I'm talking about those.
Okay, yeah, those are stock ponds that have been used for the grazing operation. We did, both the district and post worked with RCD to look at what would be the best situation for expanding reservoirs. That we looked at the Yoshikawa reservoirs, this regulating reservoir, and these stock ponds, and it was felt by the RCD that this would be the best opportunity on parcel 2 to expand reservoirs with the ability to, in the future, now this is conceptual right now and aspirational. We need to seek some grant funds that could increase water supply for the capacity to do additional irrigation on the row crops. And it would also serve for implementing the rangeland management plan to put some water troughs on the grazed property on the north side of Higgins Road. This expansion is just something we've investigated in our plans going forward. That is something that if we are able to find the funding that we would be committed to, but none of that is in writing because we don't have a project and we don't have funding for it. One of the things we've talked to John Giusti about is we would need to enter into some license agreements if that happened in the future. And those are just future things that we're looking into with Post and the Resource Conservation District. So nothing is in writing, James.
Okay, thank you.
Is it your feeling, Mike, that that in spite of the fact that the ownership will now be separated, or the idea is that it would be separated, that Midpen and Post would be able to work together on a project like that should it become practical in the future, you don't have any concerns that it will be harder to make that happen with two separate landowners?
I don't think it will. At that time in the future, it may no longer be Post, it may be the farmer. And I know that we've talked to John Giusti about this. So, I don't think that's going to be a problem going forward. I think one of the other, conditions when you do a project like that with the Resource Conservation District is that, during the dry months of the year, if you have additional water capacity, there would be a forbearance agreement, not allowing pumping in the creek in the low flow months, because you have that additional storage capacity for irrigation and livestock watering. So yes, we think we would work with either Post or John Giusti if he's the future owner of this property. If there's not any other questions, do you want me to talk about the rescinding and replacing of the Williamson Act and Farmland Security Act contracts on the property?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. The parcels on the north side of the property are in a Farmland Security 20-year contract. Both the ag fields and the grasslands right here. I believe this parcel is also in a 20-year Farmland Security contract. And then the Williamson Act contract, and I should probably go back to the existing parcel configuration. For the existing parcel 3 and 4, those are a 10-year Williamson Act contract. And so 3 and 4 are in a 10-year contract, and 1 and 2 are in a 20-year contract. What would be proposed is that putting all of the ag fields into a 20-year contract. So on the proposed parcels, this parcel 1, parcel 3, parcel 4, and this parcel right here would stay in a Farmland Security contract, but 1, 4, and 3 would be put into a 20-year contract. 3 and 4 are now currently in a 10-year contract. And then for the grasslands, which is parcel 2, when you have a lot line adjustment and you've changed the configuration of the parcels, Williamson Act contracts require rescinding a contract and then entering into a new contract of the same number of years covering the newly created parcels. This is in a 20-year contract north of Higgins Road. We would be rescinding the Williamson contract on this and entering into a 20-year open space easement contract, which is an option. And then on the south side of Higgins Road, this 10-year contract would be rescinded in place for this side of parcel 2 in a 10-year open space easement contract with the county. We had a discussion at one of the site meetings about this. That's an option that the district is selecting. We believe it gives us greater flexibility with future trail plans on the grassland and uplands property. We are committed on the north side of Higgins Road on the parcel 2, as well as both of these parcels in a longer term grazing lease that was changed from a month-to-month lease to a 5-year lease with a 5-year option with a rangeland management plan. And then we would include that in this 20-year contract, that would be one of the ongoing and continued uses. And then, as I mentioned, south of Higgins Road, this field has been fallow for well over 20 years. If the opportunity arose for a viable grazing operation, we would certainly consider it. Currently, there's really no water infrastructure or fencing on that property. That's my presentation on the Williamson Act contracts, both 10 and 20 years, and happy to take any questions.
I guess one question that comes up for me regarding the southern portion of the proposed parcel 2 would be that, as you just mentioned, the grazing in the future is a potential use, but it seems as though as we draw the lines, the water infrastructure, I guess that water infrastructure was dedicated to row crops and wasn't intended for animals, but it seemed seems like we're drawing the lines in such a way that we are isolating the opportunity for creating water infrastructure and just wondering if there would be any way in which, like, as say a future project that enlarged the stockwater ponds could be used for farmland, if they could also potentially serve grazing opportunities on the other side of the road.
John, that's an interesting suggestion that I don't know that we've contemplated. I think that's a discussion we can have with John Giusti. I'm not sure pumping from these stock ponds up over this, this ridge are efficient, but whether or not he would be open to something like that with one of the reservoirs on this side, being that we're looking at additional capacity here. And I know one of John's concerns about these reservoirs is that if there were livestock, that you had fencing around these reservoirs. Because of food safety concerns. And I think for this to be a viable grazing operation, it would need to be done in conjunction with, maybe adjacent grasslands to the east. And I don't know if cattle are grazed on those properties. And Ben, do you know if there's any grazing on the adjacent properties to the east?
Off the map, Mike, or which parcels? Can you put your cursor?
Yeah, to the east, these grasslands up here where my cursor is.
Oh, I don't know current use. I have heard past discussion about the parcelization that's happened over there that's made it difficult to have kind of large scale grazing, but I don't know current land use on those private properties.
John, just want to let you know that Dante has his hand up.
You're muted, John.
The acting chair, member of the public, Dante.
Can you?
If he's able to unmute himself.
I'm trying.
Can folks from the public
we can hear you.
themselves?
Great. Yeah, this looks pretty straightforward. You guys are cleaning up lines. Most of it makes sense, except for just north of parcel 4. There's that block to the west of the city of Half Moon Bay exactly that is a historic parcel with its own APN. I get that. But since it's all held under one conservation easement, I would think why would you not just clean things up, retire that parcel, since you're probably writing new legal descriptions and this has been a long ongoing process? Why is that still its standalone parcel? I just don't see any benefit unless there's any potential development there someday.
I'll let Ben speak to that question, Dante.
Sure, yeah, so one answer is simply we were trying to keep this application as simple as possible. It's already pretty complex and it's taken a long time to develop. So one reason is just simplicity. Another, as you said, it will be functionally limited by the conservation easement. So that's going to constrain any future use there regardless. And then third, it's possible that it will be of use for agricultural purposes to have the extra density credit you get from retaining that as a legal parcel. So it would the use would be constrained to agricultural uses, but we've seen a number of things require density credits. And so it just keeps some options open for future ag operators.
Thank you.
Sure, thanks.
Whenever you get a chance, I got a question, Peter.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, Peter, go.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I went on the tour. I want to thank Mike and Ben for doing it. It really helped me quite a bit, and I really appreciate it. I asked a lot of questions, and one of the questions I asked was if a private property owner could do this, or does this fall in the regulations where this was able to be done in this way, is because it's a governmental identity doing it. And the answer I got from Mike, and correct me if I'm right or wrong, that it was because they were able to do it because of government identity, where a private owner would not been able to do it to this extent. The other thing too, which I won't go into that there, but the other thing too that I raised, and I'm not trying to sound insulting or anything, was that in the past, Post has said one thing and done it something different, and the same as MRSD. If this does pass, it would be nice that they fulfill what they say and not change their mind or their policy due to any reason like they've done in the past. That's all. So those were my concerns. Thank you.
If it's okay, I'll address the first concern or question Peter had. Yes, parcel 3 would be limited to 5 acres or less. Parcel 3 is designated that it could be used as a farm center. That would consolidate housing on the, in the same area as the Johnston House and the Giusti Farm compound. Historically, there were farm structures on the fields of parcel 3. And then the ag easement will tie parcel 3 to either parcel 1 or 4 in the future by distribution of water use. And Ben, do you want to take a stab at Peter's second comment?
Yeah, take his point. What I did share at the on-site meeting is something I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, just to respect private individuals, is that we are in active discussions with the Giusti family, with John Giusti, about transferring the farm parcels to them. So there is an active conversation, negotiation, if you will, around the sale of those parcels. So I take Peter's point, and we're actively working to transfer that now for it to be following shortly after the completion of the land division.
On the first part, Mike, if I may, it's just my personal feelings, nothing against MRSD. I just really feel that if a governmental identity could do this, a private ownership should be able to do the same. That's just my personal feelings, and those feelings have nothing negative against MRSD. It's just the way the rules were set up that I didn't agree. That I feel that if it's good for you guys, it should be good for private ownership. And the second one is, I don't want to go into detail, but there's been in the past where Post said one thing, and it's been more than one time, and then they did something else, even though they are in negotiation with the Juicy Farm, and I respect that privacy. I've seen where it was promised to a farmer before in the past, and then it didn't happen at all. And I seen where Post's policies changed, and they worked for many years with the and not the farmer anymore. So, anyways, that's what I was referring to. So I just hope that whatever you guys are going to do, that it will go to a farmer. You fulfill what you guys say. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
And then John, I just wanted to let you know that Ron has his hand up as well as Natalie. Oh, and you're on mute again.
I'm muted myself. Natalie, do you want to go ahead?
Natalie, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. Thank you. I wasn't going to do that, and I did. I have a question along the lines of the farmer, the agreement with the farmer. So you've named somebody that you do have agreements with, or you're working on agreements and so forth. So I have a question along the lines of if in fact that were to fall through for any reason, would you still continue to have an agreement with a backup farmer, or would the whole thing, dissipate and then it's something else? And I think that might be a little bit of a concern. Are there any, is there anything written that shows that, okay, this is an agreement with a farmer, and then we'll continue if this first farmer doesn't work out? I mean, not to say that it will, I hope it does, but I'm just curious to keep it along the lines of sort of, that you're going to do the farming component. Does that make sense?
It does, Natalie. I'm afraid there isn't something that would speak to what you're looking for in terms of something legally binding. I would say that we've kept this property in operation with the Juicy family, honoring their multi-generational operation out there. So it's definitely consistent with our longtime operation of the property for 20 some odd years now. And as you're all aware, we did have a public launch of a farming initiative back in 2016. This fits in line with that, and we're very oriented toward and transferring farmland to be owned by farmers. So it's just in all directions aligned with what Post is doing now. I take your points about past activities of Post and other conservation partners, but we're very focused on transferring this property to a farmer.
I appreciate that. I just want to know what if it does fall through, because sadly, history repeats itself and we need to learn from our mistakes. So if it did fall through, what would you guys do?
Yeah, again, it's we're not legally bound on this, but I can tell you what we have been doing lately, which is other privately owned farms where there's been an opportunity for a new operator, and we've had a request for proposal process to identify potential new applicants that fit with the aspects of the property, Post conservation goals. So that's been successful in identifying a number of new operators for properties where there's an opportunity. So yeah, the RFP process is something we've used where needed to identify new operators. One way or another, if a sale fell through and we needed a new operator, we would look for somebody who can handle that site. And then work along with them at a pace that works for both the operator and post on a future sale of the property. So again, the intention would be one way or another to have this under private ownership, but hopefully we don't have to worry about the backup scenarios. Hopefully this will work out with the Juicies.
Okay, but if it was backup, are you saying private operator, that's an agriculturalist or just any private operator?
That's for agricultural use. Yeah, this is a longstanding agricultural property, and I understand it's been more productive in the past, but it's still highly productive. So that would be our intent, to keep those fields in cultivation.
Okay.
I mean, we're committed to that to the extent that the ag conservation easement that we're contemplating would require agricultural use. So we're actually seeking to put in place requirements that it stay actively used for agriculture.
Thank you for answering me. Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Ben and Mike.
And then
Actually, I think Ron was next, and we do try to favor members of the public when they want to speak.
Favor members of the public or the committee?
Members of the public, we want to make sure they have a chance to share their opinions.
And then the committee can talk. Seems like it would go the other way.
we'll see. We'll see what happens after these elections, Fred. If Ron is ready, please go ahead, and then maybe
Okay,
Fred,
thank
go
you.
ahead and make your comment. Okay, yeah. Please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Ron Sturgeon speaking. And just a quick question following up on the concerns about the ag land ownership and that it be assured to go into private ownership and be farmed. Ben, I remember a recent MROSD board meetings where they discussed agriculture in regards to revisions to their, or revisiting anyways, their agricultural policy. And you opine that the future of ag on the coast is in small farms with varied crops. And I'm curious if you would care to fill us in on why now this is the third farm that's going to the same family that represents something other than the future you're forecasting. But I realize that this has been farmed. The Johnston Ranch has been farmed by the same farmer for years, but it still seems like it would be wiser to have a more diversified farming community. But my main remark goes to the nature of what it is you're trying to have process as a lot line adjustment. I think that the process is better characterized as a subdivision, in that several of the parcels that are combined don't even begin with a contiguous border. They aren't contiguous parcels, and it's a stretch to see them as lot line adjustments rather than a reconfiguration of the property in order to facilitate it, the uplands portion, as you've indicated, into MRLSD's ownership. And I think it's a bit disingenuous to refer to something on the scale of of reconfiguration that, I mean, you even have, Mike even has trouble not characterizing as creating a parcel. I mean, not just the small parcel 3, but even the in referencing the new agricultural parcel south Higgins. You had trouble. Well, you did. You referred to as the created parcel, and I believe that's closer to what's going on here. And in that, on page 2 of your supplemental statement, 25-page supplemental statement, which is the attachment C, and page 2, middle of the page, you refer to a coastal development permit is not required for an LLA application because the LLA is brought about in connection with the purchase of land by public agency. And the subdivision regulations of the county require a CP, coastal development permit, CDP, for all lot line adjustments. And the only thing that is exempt from that in this regard is a subdivision for the same purpose. So, I mean, it's just hard for you not to see it as a re-subdivision as opposed to lot line adjustments. And I think that there are bigger issues associated with this conveyance of in division of the property to MRSD via lot line adjustments, not just on this property, but down the line. I think that there's just too much mischief that would ensue from processing subdivisions as lot line adjustments. If you look up the definition of lot line adjustments in the subdivision regulations, you'll see it's subdivisions specifically excluded from being processed as lot line adjustments. And I think that we're playing a little fast and loose with something in the processing of something that I think we all want to see happen in this particular instance, but not everywhere else. And yeah, I think I'll just stop there. But I think you're making work for lawyers.
Thank you, Ron. Would Fred, would you like to still contribute your comment now?
Yeah,
question.
Was Ron saying for clarification that he wants to subdivide the property into smaller parcels and have multiple farmers on there rather than the juicies?
Oh, and this is Lauren. I don't want to speak for Ron. Of course, you can clarify for yourself. But what I understood for what I just captured for the minutes is that, and this has been a continued committee discussion since the whole ability for subdivisions for public agency, like this has been a 2-year conversation with this committee. But my understanding, Ron, and clarify this for me, is that while we may all support this project in particular, you're concerned about the implications of future projects, and that this perhaps should be considered as a subdivision instead of a lot line adjustment. Correct me if I didn't get that there.
That would be my main concern. But to Fred's question as to what I was trying to say about the property being directed to the Giusti family, is this makes a lot of good land going to one property owner, and a lot hinges on the survival of agriculture on one individual. And I think that there is a possibility for multiple farms on this, on one side of Higgins and one on the other, and perhaps a small ranch on the north side of Higgins as well. So I'm just, this is the only opportunity, Fred, we get to quiz post and MRSD as to what explains their actions. You know, how they determine their choices when there are perhaps different perspectives as to how things should be, you know, sort of organized on the coast. And yeah, I'm not asking for the possibility of more residential subdivisions. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that I mean the Juicies are a small operator. I mean, relative to other farms throughout California, they're a small operation. They're a large one on the coast, but you know, they're a diversified operation. They produce a lot of different crops, and I'd be very reluctant to start, you know, making recommendations as to, you know, who can farm or how they can farm and what size of farm they should have. And I don't think any of that, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike or Ben, does any of that go to the proposed lot line adjustment that we're talking about here? You know, who is going to remain as the tenant on the property? I hope it's the Juicies. But that's a separate discussion or a separate issue than the lot line adjustment. Is it not, or is that a part of this?
Well, I think it's a separate discussion. I'll address the lot line adjustment. So lot line adjustment is 4 or fewer parcels. And so I'll just, we start with 4 parcels, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we end with 4 parcels, 1, 2, 3, and 4. A land division covers a lot split, lot line adjustments, or a subdivision. So if you're more than 4, 5 or more parcels are involved, it's a subdivision. If you're doing a lot split of a single parcel, that's considered a minor subdivision because it's a larger parcel being split into smaller parcels. So this all falls under land division, but this is a lot line adjustment. This is why we did not involve this parcel that I'm circling or this property, which are separate legal parcels, to make this a simpler you know, process through the county doing a lot line adjustment. Hopefully that provides a little clarification for everybody.
Definitely. Thank you for that. I can see Natalie has her hand up and Fred still has his hand up.
Oh, I'll take mine down.
I just wanted to firstly say thank you, Mike, because I appreciate you explaining that so well and your knowledge in this area. So I don't know who laughed, but I'm sincere because I sometimes struggle with that, with the subdivisions, especially with the smaller amount of parcels. So thank you. I also wanted to say, I think we need to be careful about getting into this whole thing. Well, it could be used for other farmers or this or that. As we all know, we're barely on with agriculture on the coast right now. Less and less people are farming for various reasons, and reasons that they wish that they could continue but can't. So I think it's great that we have a farmer that will continue this And I'm concerned with what would happen if they don't have a farmer to do this. What would happen when they don't have a farmer to do this? So I appreciate what you guys are saying, but I think it's good that we have a farmer and a farming family with so much history on the land that knows how to do it, that can continue it. What's going to happen after that, I don't know, and that's what scares me, as I've already voiced. But I think that's a good thing, just for what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Anyone else with hands raised? One comment I'd have about, I think ultimately the idea would be that the Juicies would own the land, and then it would be up to them to sell it to someone else if they were to quit farming. But there would be an affirmative easement written into the deed, which would require future owners to farm at least a portion of it. So I think that's what Post is endeavoring to do to protect agriculture. And I am curious about the possibility of it being broken up into two operations and have them both full. And I think that would be important to consider the water usage, whether the property one would have access to sufficient water, should property 4 be operated by a different individual. And I'd hope that those kinds of considerations would be taken while transferring the land, to not necessarily to encourage that it would be more than one operator, but to make that be a possibility.
Yes, thank you, John. Thank you, Natalie. Those are active in our minds as we work toward establishing the terms of the conservation. Thank you.
This is Bill. I'm trying to raise my hand, but I can't figure out how.
Okay, Bill, you
work.
unmuted
Yeah.
yourself, so go ahead.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Bill, go ahead.
I'm confused around this, and I think that maybe Summer or somebody from the government agencies might be best able to help. But we're talking about like Williamson Act tracks ending and starting and being longer and shorter and changing to open space easements. And I know I went through a 10-year process to end the Williamson Act contract. And for them to, I wasn't aware that there was a way that it could happen immediately. So I'm wondering what's the mechanism by which all of this is happening. And, and this is, yes, government agencies, but it's also Peninsula Open Space Trust, which is not a government agency. I believe that falls more under the category of private ownership, being a nonprofit corporation, as I understand it. They're a 501c3 or something similar. So I'm looking for some clarification as to what is the mechanism of this and how does that relate to private landowners as well and their ability to move more quickly on these things, on things that make sense and would be of benefit.
Bill, go ahead, Summer.
Did anybody hear?
Yes.
For that?
This is Angela. I just to chime in really quick. So that's basically, we're covering the parcels with open space easements. So they're still good for the amount of time that they would have been, as you've described, the exit time for your contract. It would be essentially the same thing. We're just covering it with a different type of contract, and that's actually baked into the requirements of the Williamson Act. So in order to rescind, you have to replace. And that's included as part of the project.
And I'll just add the rescission, is it, I don't know if it's the right word, but their rescinding of the contract in this case, Bill, is triggered. It's like Angela said, it's baked into the Williamson Act regulations, specifically for lot line adjustments. You're required to rescind the contract and replace based on the post-adjusted parcels. So a little different situation than somebody that is, you know, under a Williamson Act contract and just wishes to non-renew their contract, to be taken out of contract.
It all seems to make a lot of good sense. Where I'm getting confused is going from an agricultural easement to an open space easement, which sounds to me like a change of usage. And is that something that a private property owner could do? Is change a portion of their Williamson Act property to a open space easement with, if they had contiguous parcels and adjust sizes and so forth? Or would you have to keep the same acreage? Just what are the rules around that?
I think you cut out there, Bill, but I think we got the gist of what you were asking, which is clarification on replacing a Williamson Act an open space easement, and if that's something a private property owner could do.
This is Angela again. If you were doing a lot line adjustment, you could. Private owner, public agency, it again is included in part of the Williamson Act.
And then regarding the open space easement versus an agricultural easement, any clarification there?
I can double check. It's included as an attachment, but I believe that is the case as well.
Yes, I believe so. I believe that's right. I'm looking now.
Okay, and then John, I think Ron has his hand up again.
Yeah, it was just still up. Ron, did you have an additional comment?
Just a comment on the rescission of Williamson Act and going to an open space. It's been some time since I looked into it, but my belief, because that's what I was looking to confirm when I was investigating it, was that if you rescind and go to an open space easement from a Williamson Act contract, not only does the acreage have to remain the same, but the restrictions have to remain the same for, I think it's 9 years into the open space. easement. So you wouldn't be able to get out from under the encumbrance of having to farm contracted land for 9 years.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just, Angela again, interject. So if you look at Uniform Rule 4 within the Williamson Act handout that was included as an attachment to the report, you are correct. It does require that you maintain the acreage, so the acreage can't be reduced. And it's still the 10 years that would be the standard to exit the contract. It would need to continue to be covered.
What I'm saying, Summer, is something a little different in that the open space rules and regulations require that the same restrictions be conveyed into the open space easement for 9 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm saying the same thing. I'm sorry if that was confusing, but it's 10 years.
All right.
So I suppose that would set some members of the committee's mind at ease that the ranching benefit that is currently pursued on the uplands will continue in spite of the fact that the Williamson Act will be replaced with the open space easement.
Was that a question to the committee?
I guess so. Yeah, it's my feeling, and I wonder if that would, if others on the committee would agree with that. Because my concern would be just that by changing it away from a Williamson Act, there would no longer be an incentive to keep the rancher on the land.
Yeah, I can appreciate that as well, and certainly was one of my interests, was seeing that those properties continue to be grazed. I mean, that's an important part of land management, and I know Post and Midpen appreciate that as well. I guess, Mike, you were saying that the reason to go to an open space easement was due to flexibility for the land use, but were there any concerns with regards to meeting Williamson Act minimum requirements on that property previously?
No, though I have mentioned in the past, this is required because of the lot line adjustment. Our typical process as a public agency, we derive no tax benefit from a Williamson Act contract. What we have routinely done on property we've entered into longer term grazing leases, we have filed for non-renewal for the contract to expire after 10 years. And I'll also mention that the grazing lease goes beyond this portion of parcel 2 and includes this parcel, and it is a 5-year lease with a 5-year option. And that was a change from a month-to-month lease, prior to that new lease. So it goes beyond the property in consideration for the grazing operation. And, that is Midpen's commitment. And it's in our service plan is to support viable agriculture. And we're starting to have some of our contracts that we've had for over 10 years are coming into renewal. And so that's our ongoing commitment.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I see that it's getting close to 9 o'clock. Natalie, I see your hand is up again. And Louis, I'm wondering if we are getting ready to maybe be able to make a motion on this one.
Yeah, and then we also, B just raised his hand on the public side.
Great. Louis, do you want to go ahead? It looks like Natalie's hand maybe went down.
Okay, this is not for a motion. I just want to make a comment. I've talked to John several times regarding this. He is pretty well satisfied with the way it's going, and it's the way it's been cut up here. One concern he has, and it's Mike, the ponds, the potential storage area that you were talking about at the tour, right there. He said that if that happened, he would really like to have control of the water there for his parcel. But there's, I mean, I don't know how you would work that out. It's just one of his concerns. But other than that, he's pretty well satisfied with the way it's going. And the reason he's really interested in purchasing the land is he has family members that his kids are coming up, and their interest is into staying in the farming.
Thanks, Louis. I'll just comment real quick. Yes, I think both of John's sons are interested, and they have attended some of the meetings with Ben and I, which is encouraging. And so those ponds currently, the stockwater ponds, have not in the past or served for irrigating the agricultural crops. And if they were to be expanded in the future, and those are some big ifs, there needs to be funding and work done. We would have to work out a license agreement with John. It would also still need to serve and expand the grazing operation for better water distribution. So it would be a shared system. We did another project with John, and he's very consistent. In fact, he moved. I'm going to point to the city's property. He was farming this area, but when the survey showed this was on the city's property, John stopped farming and put a fence there. He would rather not be entangled with public agencies, whether it's the city or the district. And but in a shared water system in the future, speaking hypothetically, we would have to enter into a license agreement with him for his use of irrigation and to make sure that there's sufficient water for the livestock operation as well.
Okay, I'm just passing on.
Sure.
Our conversation, that
he said the same to Ben and me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Louis.
BJ, could we want to get a comment in from BJ before the meeting's over if we can?
Yeah, my comment is that on the open space easement versus the agricultural easement. If it goes into an open space easement, there's no requirement you have to farm anymore, right? I think that's if it's in the agricultural easement, then that's an agreement that you make that it's got to be continued into agricultural. But if you put it in an open space easement, I believe it can just be open space and just sit there. So if Juicy didn't succeed in wanting to farm it, or you couldn't find anybody with a new type of agreement, you wouldn't have to be forced to farm it. It could just be idle ground. But I'm pretty sure that's the way that works.
So on the open space easement on the property to the south, we've indicated that we're comfortable with that open space use including livestock grazing operation.
Now the flat ground, you're going to leave it in Williamson Act?
I'm sorry?
The flat ground will be left in the Williamson Act?
What will be left in the Williamson?
All the agricultural.
Yes.
Parcel.
This parcel 1 will be in all 1, 3, 4 will all be in a 20-year Farmland Security Act.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood that. Okay.
And this parcel is currently in a 20-year.
All right. One of the questions I had, Mike, is that these two ponds on 4, parcel 4, how big are those?
And I'll defer to Ben on that.
I believe John said that the larger one is a true 49 acre foot pond and the smaller one is does not contain very much, but does serve to remove sediment from filling in that larger pond.
So if it's a 49 acre foot, that's the total size you can go under state regulations. Under the local regulations, 49 acre. So that one couldn't be enlarged. So would there be possibly another pond could be built there?
The hope is that the smaller one could be expanded.
Okay. Yeah, because otherwise it would be no additional water if you're already at your limit. But if you can enlarge the other one to a good size, then it's going to benefit the ag land.
Mhm.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, BJ.
Thank you. Hey guys, in the whatever you call it, in the interest of time, how are we feeling? Louis' hand is still up, but it's probably just still up from before.
Sorry.
Do we feel like we've had enough answers questioned that we questions answered rather than answers questioned that we might be able to make a motion? Fred has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to propose that we make a motion to move that the committee vote to support the proposed lot line adjustment. I figured I'd throw that out there and see how it goes.
Good. I would second that motion.
Fred, this is Louis. How do you want to word that?
I was just move that the committee vote to support the proposed lot line adjustment. We're advisory to planning, so
Yeah, and that works on my end for I'm just getting a text from Bill asking if we can hear him, by the way. Bill, I don't think so, if you can hear us. Yeah, so I think, the two questions, kind of guiding questions at the top of the packet here. Will a proposed lot line adjustment and altered Williamson Act contracts have any negative effect on surrounding agricultural uses? If so, can any conditions of approval be recommended to minimize any such impact? I believe we've discussed over the last two meetings some recommendations. And then number two is, what position do you recommend that planning staff take with respect to the application for this project? So the wording of Fred's motion should account for that we'd support the approval of this project.
yeah, and I would just throw in that regarding agricultural impacts is that the open space easement continue to be grazed. I mean, that's an important management practice, and we want to keep it in agriculture.
Okay, so the updated language, and just to confirm your second, John, the committee would vote to support, motion for the committee to vote to support, wait, let me try this again. Motion for the committee to support the proposed lot line adjustment with consideration that the open space easement continue to be grazed.
This is Jonathan. I second that as well.
Seconded, okay, by John or Jonathan. Okay, we're ready for a roll call vote. For the motion on the table, Judy.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Natalie.
Can you come back to me? I just, yeah, thank you, Lauren.
No problem. Louis.
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
And Bill just texted me a yes. I don't know if you can see that. I want to get it in the record since we won't have a verbal. It's on. Bill is yes. Bill Cook, yes, as texted and read into the record. Peter.
I'm gonna abstain on this. It could be a conflict. Thank you.
Abstain, okay. Ryan,
Yes.
Fred,
Aye.
and I'm Lauren, and I vote yes. So circling back to you, Natalie.
Okay, so I think I have to abstain. I don't think it's a conflict because of our sell to open space in the past and I'm sorry, to Midpen in the past and the fact that we lease back from them currently, according to when I talked to Summer about that from the last meeting. But I think I really would like to see this go through. And I'm happy that it appears that it's happening. I think though I have to abstain because I want to be responsible about it. And my back went out on the day of the tour. So I wasn't able to be there as I intended to be. So I feel like I'm not making an informed enough decision. So I'm going to abstain. But I really regret I wasn't there. So thank you for having that.
Okay, thank you, Natalie, and I'm sorry to hear about your back. That is
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yeses. So this passes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
I'd like to make a comment, John. I want to thank Mike and Ben.
Yes, please.
I want to thank Mike and Ben for the tour that they put on for the committee.
Thanks for coming, Louis.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. So-
Do we do the voting officers next meeting, seeing it's 9 o'clock?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
Do you want to make a motion?
Make a motion to postpone the election of the officers to next meeting due to it's past 9 o'clock.
I'll second that.
Okay, let me just capture this in the minutes real
Great.
quick. That was a motion by Peter, seconded. I'm sorry, was that Fred?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I think this might be the last roll call vote. Let's do this one more time. Judy.
Yeah.
Okay, James,
Yes.
Natalie,
Yes.
Louis,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Bill. Let's see if we got him back. I didn't get a text this time. Okay, I'm gonna go, I'll circle back to you if we get you back. Bill, Peter,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
and I'm Lauren. I vote yes. Last call for Bill. I think we might have lost him completely. Okay, that motion passes. And I know we're kind of running over on time, but I just want to mention for the next meeting on the ag tourism guidelines, since this was an item we're reviving from literally a year ago. So I know we wanted to expand. I think the goal of this was originally to try to expand the uses allowed under the ag tourism guidelines. And there were several committee discussions. There were 2 subcommittee meetings last year. And I just, for preparing for the next meeting, the first ag tourism conversation subcommittee notes includes everyone's comments, both public and committee members' initial input, just for reference and kind of historical reference on the conversation. The second one is really more focused, sorry, as if you can see what I'm pointing to over here, more focused on what the current ag tourism guidelines allow, and what the subcommittee recommended, and then some general discussion notes. So I'd like to use that as a starting point for the conversation next meeting, and just want to direct everyone to that that's the best place to get up to speed on where we left the conversation literally a year ago. And then the last thing I want to say is we really were trying to get the recommendations back to the county in time for it to be considered for the next round of ag tourism permits, which usually start in August for the fall pumpkin and Christmas tree season. So just in the interest of time, I just want to give us that kind of time frame that since we usually take a couple meetings for these conversations, that if we can make sure to try to get our recommendations back to the county by May or June, that will allow them to incorporate it for the next season. So little warm up round for what our next meeting is going to include. And thanks for letting me babble about that.
Lauren, thank you for all your.
Yeah, and that gets
Just wonderful. Just
what
wonderful.
goes with that is encouraging people to actually take a look at that item 13, I guess, so that we come to the meeting maybe more prepared than we sometimes do. And maybe we can get through that more quickly than the farm stand considerations. And I would move to adjourn the meeting. And we feel like we did a pretty good job
Excellent. Excellent.
through things.
And last thing I just want to say is thank you as well to you, Natalie. You were an ACRE subcommittee member a year ago, and all those notes are a big part of what the work you helped do last year. So thanks to you too.
You're awesome. So thank you for being here. You worked so hard. Thank you. All right. Sorry, you guys. Women do that, you know.
So I'll, what should we mark the meeting adjourned? What time is it? 9:07?
Indeed.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone.
Great, thanks.
Thank you all again.
Bye.